Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. An Elmira City Councilman is facing charges for a February bar fight. 5th District Councilman Tori Kitching has been charged with misdemeanor assault in connection to a fight that occurred at WMC North in Elmira. Elmira police say Kitching was asked to leave the restaurant multiple times before tackling and injuring someone. Kitching is the second Elmira City Councilman currently facing criminal charges and will appear in court on the same day as fellow Councilman Nick Grasso on April 25th. 911 operators work in high-pressure situations every day, and while they do help save lives, their efforts sometimes go unnoticed. Tonight, Big Fox's Josh Feldberg went to the Schuyler County Dispatch Center to find out what happens on the other side of the line.
This week is National Telecommunicators Week, an opportunity to recognize the unseen figures that keep our communities safe.
So a 911 dispatcher, you take a lot of kind of responsibility due to, you're running constant emergencies around the county. You're also running, for us, we run the jail also. So we also have that on top of us.
The Schuyler County Dispatch Center deploys police, fire, and EMS services all over Schuyler County and neighboring counties as well. Given the high-stress nature of the job, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes challenges dispatchers face.
Mental health's a big thing with this job because it's hard to take the call, sit here and not be able to go and do anything, But you also got to look at you are doing something. You're getting the help that needs to be there. So you just got to constantly remember your mental health. And if you need to talk to somebody, talk to somebody.
Although you may not always think of them, 911 dispatchers are an essential part of emergency services.
I think we are the unseen. I think not a lot of people think of us as a necessity or something like that, when in reality we are, we get the cops where they need to go, or law enforcement, fire, EMS, where they need to go.
While it's not the easiest job in the world, according to the dispatchers, being able to help the people of Schuyler County makes all the hard work worth it.
Absolutely. I think that every aspect of this job is rewarding. Being able to help people out on their worst days is, it's not something that everybody takes as rewarding, but getting help there and getting people what they need is rewarding.
The Dispatch Center wants to remind you that if you do ever find yourself in an emergency, don't hesitate to call. Josh Feldberg, Big Fox News, Schuyler County.
The COVID vaccine will no longer be required for students attending SUNY schools. SUNY made the announcement following the end of the national public health emergency announced by the White House earlier this week. While the vaccine is no longer mandated, SUNY is still strongly encouraging students and staff to stay up to date on their vaccinations. There's a new phone scam sweeping through the southern tier. The Steuben County Sheriff's Department says victims receive a call and they're told they have a warrant out for their arrest. The victim is pressured then to give the caller their banking information to get the warrant removed. The phone number begins with 607-622, with the last 4 digits changing frequently. The department urges anyone who receives these calls to report them to law enforcement. Easter has passed and spring is here. Our Maggie Hall is here now with a few reminders as we kick off the new season.
Spring has sprung in the southern tier, with temperatures this week reaching into the 80s. Sharon has taken advantage of that warm weather to work on her garden.
So this week I've just been doing some cleanup and getting all my planters out. I started my seeds inside and brought some of them out and cleaned up the yard. I started mulching to make it look really good and get some of the busy work done.
We also talked with a landscaping expert to get some advice on how you can prep your lawn for the warm seasons.
Hello, my name is Dalton Lewis. We are a full-service landscape construction company.
Spring is considered by many to be the best time to do garden and lawn work.
A lot of it, it depends on what you're looking for in your yard. I would say fertilization, weed control, weed and feed control in your lawns is going to make a nice, lush, healthy lawn and feed it all year round. Other than, just, keeping your beds clean, keeping your mulch new every year, every other year, trying to turn it over. Keeping just keeping things cleaned up and trying to keep your lawn as healthy as you can.
For further landscaping consultation and services, you can find Lewis Lawn and Landscaping on Facebook or give them a call at 607-769-0528. Growing season is upon us. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News, Corning.
New data shows a big improvement for Americans. A key gauge of inflation softened, and the president touting that, calling it progress. Caroline Shively has more from Washington.
Temperatures may be rising, but when it comes to high prices, economists say a much-needed cool-down is coming. New inflation data out Wednesday shows consumer prices eased in March for the 9th straight month. Inflation is at 5% year over year, slightly down from a month prior. Higher rent is the biggest driver.
It's only in this weird environment where 5% is good news. That's obviously terrible for the consumer.
But it is the lowest reading in nearly 2 years, after peaking last June. And yet it's still more than double the 2% target the Federal Reserve wants. And core inflation, stripping out food and energy, ticked up higher.
That is concerning.
The government jobs report last week showed hiring remains strong, but starting to slow. U.S. stocks edged up on the better-than-expected inflation data.
I'm not surprised the market's liking it.
It's the last report before the Fed makes another decision on interest rates.
Unless there's a big narrative change, it's going to be hard for the Federal Reserve not to forge ahead with an additional rate hike.
It's a balancing act for the Fed, raising rates to slow the economy without tipping it into recession.
The United States is doing extremely well economically with inflation coming down and a strong labor market.
Investors are betting on another quarter-point hike from the Fed in May. And on Friday, we'll see how the banking sector is weathering its storm when 3 big banks report their earnings. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
A major intelligence leak. U.S. Special Forces are stationed in Ukraine, but they're not doing any fighting. Mike Tobin has more from Kyiv, Ukraine.
As the mourning process continues here in Louisville, we're learning more about the 25-year-old gunman who killed 5 people in a bank on Monday before being shot by police. The gunman's family releasing a statement to Fox News affiliate WDRB saying he had, quote, mental health challenges that the family was trying to address, but they had no idea he was planning a mass shooting. Writing in part, quote, no words can express our sorrow, anguish, and horror at the unthinkable harm our son inflicted on innocent people, their families, and the entire Louisville community. Just minutes before the shooting took place, he allegedly texted those family members writing, I love you. Folks here say this is a pattern that is becoming all too familiar.
I know the scene has repeated itself across our nation as people check in to find out whether their loved ones are safe. I hope that a day will come soon when we don't need to do that anymore.
Meanwhile, as the investigation ramps up, the Louisville Police Department released body camera video showing how officers responded to the shooting. You can see here not a moment wasted as first responders rushed to confront the gunman, engaging and taking him down within minutes, keeping any other lives from being lost.
I would love to have either one of those officers ride with me any day. They did absolutely exactly what they needed to do to save lives. Once officers arrived on scene, not another person was shot.
One of the first officers on the scene, a 26-year-old rookie, remains in critical condition after being shot in the head. In Louisville, Kentucky, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
Your full forecast is next.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Well, we've been talking about it a lot this year as we've been noting that winter months have been a much warmer than average, feeling almost like spring. So why not surpass spring months as well and talk about summer-like conditions? Underneath this bright blue sky, we were able to bring in our first 80-degree day for Elmira. Now, the average day to see the first 80-degree day is just around about April 21st. So we're near average. A few days before that, not looking at the earliest we've we've ever reached that 80-degree day. But note that the last time we saw a high temperature hit 80 degrees was back at the end of September, so almost 200 days ago that we were in those 80s. Now note that not only do we have the 80s for high temperatures, but we have some uncomfortable, even low temperatures. Typically at this time of the year, we're still seeing our low temperatures extend near that freezing mark. We're keeping our overnight low at 56 degrees. That is warm. Now, good news is we have dry air, so that's creating not much stickiness and humidity, but these are still pretty warm temperatures, especially with abundant blue sky. It's definitely beating down on these dry soils, allowing for those surface temperatures to really start to turn around, and 85 is on the board for our Thursday. So warm sunshine continues. Now, note that I mentioned that there's dry air conditions, and that has been extending some special weather statements as well as some red flag warnings through areas of Pennsylvania up into areas of New York due to the conditions that could bring some fire concerns. There were a few wind gusts possible and those warm temperatures, and those are the perfect ingredients to allow for any spark to spread quickly. Now note that there is a statewide fire ban until the middle of May, restricting those permits to burn, so do not burn, as we will still see some of those conditions setting up for a Thursday to allow for fires to spread quickly, but a little bit pull back in the wind, and still though noting dry dew points. We note that we have several days that we are going to hit those 80s, so note that this warmth is sticking around. Sunscreen and hydration is key. This is early season warmth. Our bodies are adjusting to this, and we need to take those precautions. And then we'll talk a rainy return by the end of the weekend, where we will fall back to more of those seasonal high temperatures. Now, as mentioned, this is a look at the dew points. So still keeping dew points into those 40s. A little return to the 50s is helping that fire concern, but still pretty dry air conditions. So not going to have too much humidity, but that sunshine is going to be warm. When it comes to, as mentioned, that fire risk as well, wind gusts not as strong as we saw today, staying under about 20 miles per hour. And temperature wise though, that is going to be soaring, widespread 80s for everyone. 84 Binghamton, 85 into Elmira, Mansfield around 81 degrees, Wayland around 80 degrees. We do that again into that Friday forecast, even potentially upper 80s for highs. Do we dare say 90s? We'll watch that warmth. But as mentioned, by the end of the weekend, we'll talk about some scattered showers, which is going to pull those temperatures back to more of a seasonal high in the 50s.